Call to order the Audit Subcommittee of the Supplemental Retirement Board of Trustees. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate everyone's attention to these important matters. Why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the North Carolina flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of North Carolina, pledge to the United States, love, loyalty, and faith. Thank you. All right, some procedural matters. If anyone wishes to make a public comment, sign up or email Patty Hall at patty.hall, P-A-T-T-I, at nctreasurer.com. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted online with the other board materials. We ask that you please mute your phone or computer if not speaking. All votes will be by roll call. Board members, if you must leave the meeting at any point, please announce your departure. If you return, please announce your return as well. These items must be recorded in the meeting minutes. Likewise, please state your name before speaking. Finally, texts or other recorded communications between board members during the meeting, even on personal phones, may be public records to the extent that they concern the meeting. Secretary, please call the roll.
Treasurer Briner.
Aye. Are here.
Bob Shea. Bob. Steve Bean.
Here.
And Robert Hillman.
Present.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Ethics awareness, identification of conflicts. So please, everyone, take a moment to review the agenda. Does anyone present have an actual, potential, or the appearance of a conflict of interest in these matters? Okay, hearing none. We will go to Tom Ray. He'll present the upcoming annual audit of the 401k and 457 plans.
Thanks, Mr. Treasurer. Again, Thomas Ray, partner, UHY, and I'm happy to be here today to what I call our kickoff meeting for the financial statement audit and the employer audits that we conduct on behalf of the plan and the Treasurer's office. So my agenda today, do you have the presentation? Just go right to that agenda. Is really just to kind of, again, roll through what the scope of that engagement and what our responsibilities are as your financial statement auditors, go through the audit methodology, briefly touch upon trustee fiduciary duties as a reminder, and then talk about risks. And when I say that, this is the kickoff meeting, so we really haven't even, we had some kickoff meetings recently in regards to the everything just starting, but I think personally that this is the more important meeting because this is the meeting where the audit subcommittee, the treasurer can ask any questions about the process, talk about any risks, anything that keeps you up at night, versus when I'm completely done and just back here later this summer, just talking about the results of the audit. Next slide. So again, our methodology is essentially, this shows it in 4 phases. Every financial statement audit is a risk-based audit. So I look at it as 2. So the planning and strategy and the systems evaluations are really that preliminary phase. That's what we're in the process of right now. And then the phase 3 and 4 is what I call the substantive or final phase, is really where we're validating all the numbers that are in the financial statements, footnotes, et cetera. Next slide. So I mentioned again, every audit is risk-based. That we don't opine on the internal controls, but because this is a governmental audit, we do test controls. We obviously then look at other controls for some of your other providers. So your BNY, your Empower, they're audited by other firms. Those internal controls are tested and validated. So we're looking at the results of all of those. We build out that risk assessment, like I said, based on our understanding. We perform tested design for key processes, particularly around your inflows and your outflows and the participant data, that underlying participant data. And then at the bottom of that slide, A little unique to this particular engagement, but part of the scope of the contract. In addition to everything that we'll be doing on contributions, I'll talk about it again. We also do what we call employer audits around the state. So we always pick what the 10 largest from a dollar perspective, and then we have 15 random that we're cycling through all the employers around the state on an annual basis. And that's really just to kind of validate that. You've heard the term garbage in, garbage out. So we're actually on boots on the ground at those employers, validating that payroll data that's coming out of those employers.
If I can just say one thing, not everyone who goes through an audit chooses to do that employer testing. So that's something that we choose to do in addition to the financial statement audit.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I guess I didn't make that clear. That we do testing for contributions, but that is a little unique to this particular contract. It's built into the contract, built into the scope of this engagement. So whatever we're doing for the financial statement audits, obviously we're validating, but then those 25 employers, those rotating employers, that's kind of a separate engagement. And I'll report on that separately later this year. Next slide. So now we're into that, what I call substantive phase or final phase, just to give you a little bit of idea of what we're doing on your balance sheet, income statement, of the financial statement. So on the investment side, obviously we're confirming all of the investments. A little unique. It's just easier that way. The structure of the plan, we're able to confirm 100% with Empower, BNY, and various investment managers, doing valuation testing on a sample basis, and then a lot of analytical procedures around income, interest, etc. Also the expenses that are incurred from the managers. On the contribution side, again, we're confirming as part of the audit process, but we're also then, again, we're piggybacking off of a lot of that employer testing that we're doing separately, a lot of analytical procedures over the reasonableness, and then obviously reconciling that all into the general ledger, the trial balance that rolls up into the financials. Similarly on the distributions out of the plan, payments to participants or retirees, a lot of analyticals, and then reconciling all that detail to the general ledger that rolls up to the financials, and then validating or doing a lot of analyticals using IDEA, et cetera, over administrative costs of the plan, et cetera. Next slide. So I mentioned audit risk. I know I'm not a big fan of this one, but every audit we are required to in our engagement letter and also to the board to communicate significant risks. I might contend that, based on what we're doing, we're hitting all the high marks, the investments, inflows, outflows. But part of that risk assessment, there are certain assets that are outside of BNY's custody, so they're considered a little higher risk, and we're communicating that to you. Also, under just generally accepted audit standards, there's always a presumed significant risk in management override of controls, so we're building our testing in around that, and then obviously revenue recognition. So just kind of cut off, making sure all the dollars are in there in the right period.
Just for my education, which assets are not custody of BNY?
Just a little bit of the stable value.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. I'm sorry, I think that was on that slide. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, it wasn't. So great question. These next couple slides, I'm really just a reminder as fiduciaries, your role, your duty of loyalty, care, and prudence. Next slide, just really about why I think this kickoff meeting is more important to me, because I get the opportunity to kind of interact with the subcommittee in relation to your role in the audit process. Just always a reminder that we work for you, not necessarily while we'll end up talking to and working with all of your staff and your providers, just ever present and reminding even my staff that we work for the subcommittee, and but you have a role in that as well. Next slide. Just again, more of those duties and your role in the audit process. Won't spend too much time. And then the next slide is really kind of where I try to open it up. There's also something called SAS 99. It's a fraud risk standard in the audit standards, where we'll probably be reaching out. We always interview as part of the audit process staff members, but we'll always interview at least one member of the audit subcommittee in regards to their views about the risks of fraud in the plan. But obviously, this is an opportunity to discuss it, but perhaps not even in an open forum. So what I would recommend is if there's anything that pops up, whether it's today or at any point during the process of the audit, again, because I work for the subcommittee, just you have all of my contact information. If there any time during the process, you can reach out and talk to me. And so with that, I mean, I think that's pretty much, I know the treasurer said this is going to be quick. I flew through that in about 5 or 10 minutes. So I thank everyone and certainly open it up to any questions from the subcommittee.
So Tom, on the fraud risk standards, is that just mainly around the financials, or does that also delve into the records at Empower and where they may be receiving calls from bad actors acting as a participant trying to get money out of the plan?
So this plan has been subjected to those, as you know, the fraud risk standards that are coming from ours. We want to be aware of any fraud. However, as 99 is really material fraud to the financial statements. So as you can imagine, based on the asset size of the plans, it would have to be a significant fraud to actually impact the financials. But still want to be involved if any of those things kind of happen, right down to a participant level, bad actor, someone gets into an account, diverts funds. Unfortunately, that's happened in this plan in the past, and always want to be aware of it. But it's really from how does that impact the financial statements materially? And typically, that has never been the case.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I've got 2 questions. This is Steve.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Tom, if you could, back to your slide on significant risk, comment a minute about the management override of controls and revenue recognition again, or I may have missed some of that. And the second question relates to the non-custodial assets. What exactly does that involve on the stable value fund?
So I'll answer your first one, Steve, and then I'll get into the stable value as well. So on that, I mentioned it. I'm not a fan of that particular slide because it is something that's come out of the audit standards that management override of controls and revenue recognition are an automatic significant risk in every financial statement audit.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, like I said, we are confirming pretty much all of the inflows for the year, and we're confirming with all of this. So we're probably doing about 80% positive confirmations with the actual employers, and then obviously we're validating 100% of those contributions with Empower, and we're looking at cutoff, et cetera. So the revenue recognition from a risk perspective in this plan would just be timing, quite honestly. If we're back to what we were just talking about from a material standpoint. If a new employee's contributions, because the paperwork wasn't filed, doesn't get in, it obviously doesn't have a material impact to the plans. This would have to be a large employer and multiple payrolls potentially. So obviously we are cognizant of that and validating that the completeness and accuracy from a timing perspective, that all the contributions from a material perspective are reported in the financial statements. That answer your question?
Yes. And
then on that investment or the outside of custody, we talked, and the treasurer asked a great question. I thought it was on there, but it wasn't. Anything that's held out, I mentioned what we do. So your risk profile for custodied assets would be lowered simply because there's a lot of controls at BNY, and then there's also controls augmenting that at Empower that we're considering that would lower your risk profile. But if there's ever assets, so in the retirement system, not these plans. You probably have private equity investments and hedge funds. They are all outside of custody as well. And then just based on the nature of those assets, their risk profile is higher, but it's also raised because of the fact that they're outside of custody and not subject to those internal controls at the custodial bank. Similarly here, the stable value fund is outside of custody. So we are working with you're under Galliard, I believe, and we're confirming with them. We're looking at the underlying assets to make sure that they're supporting the contract value of the fund. So we're just kind of doing extra confirming directly with Galliard, dealing with Galliard, looking at all those underlying securities for those assets that are held outside of custody.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from committee members?
Looks like Bob Shea has a question.
He may be on mute.
Is it in the chat, maybe? How do we know Bob has a question?
He raised his hand.
Bob, we can't hear you if you're asking your question.
He just said he has a problem with his mic.
Maybe he could put it in the chat?
He could.
While we're waiting for this, just a quick question for me. It sounds like we have a pretty high standard relative to the underlying testing that we're doing that others are not. Are there other ways we could raise that standard even higher that would be cost effective?
So what I'll say about these plans, and I mentioned, I think I'm not going to say what other auditors do. Every financial statement audit is risk-based, so you do a risk assessment. Just because of the nature of the plans, how these particular plans are set up, we're doing, like, as I mentioned, 100% coverage. That's not necessarily required by standard. The only thing that, we've had these discussions in the past, and I know, Mr. Treasurer, you weren't privy to them. There's things you can do, like cyber assessments, because we talk about some of the risks, but also don't forget that Empower is doing that. So from a cost perspective, just asking questions of Empower and making sure that they're the ones kind of dealing with that. And that way there's less burden on the plan. In this space, doing like large state retirement, as I mentioned, this contract has a unique aspect because of the additional testing at the employer level. The only other thing I've ever done that would have to come with a cost is we'll do like agreed upon procedures where is Empower doing enough outreach or things like that. So we, that really kind of go outside of the scope of the financial statements that we've done. But again, I've always given kudos to the treasurer and the subcommittee and the fact that you're going that extra mile, and even on this engagement.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, folks, I think I solved the problem. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Excellent. Thank you.
You have a question, Bob?
I just wanted to make a comment. In this pre-meeting, it's outstanding to hear about the revenue recognition and the internal controls. Just share a quick anecdote. I was unable to attend a pre-meeting of one of our affiliated entity audits. And in the conclusion letter, it highlighted the fact that there was revenue recognition and internal controls concern. My understanding is that the letter standard has changed, not the underlying way the audit is conducted.
Bob, you're absolutely right. And that's why the standard is now that needs to be required. So it needs to be communicated. I'm sorry. So usually many firms will communicate that in a letter. We have done the same, but not every audit particularly has kickoff meetings. A lot of my clients do because they have active audit committees or boards. So I get the opportunity to communicate that also verbally. But yes, the standard has changed where it needs to be in the engagement letter. And then obviously, usually there's another letter that goes along with that that's communicated to the board in its entirety or at a minimum, the audit committee.
Excellent, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the public comment section.
There are none.
There are no public comments, so we will close the public comment section. I've already given everybody an opportunity for board member comments, but if there's anything that you've thought of in the last 30 seconds, we're welcome to that. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Steve?
Thank you, Steve.
Bob, second.
Thank you, Bob. Please call the roll.
Treasurer Briner,
Aye.
Robert Hillman,
Aye.
We are unanimous and adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.